This presentation deals with why some gifted children may not be the best academic performers. High IQ and high achievement are linked, but they're not always exactly the same thing. You can have someone who is very bright but gets poor grades. You can also have somebody who has perfect grades, hundreds on every paper, and never quite makes it the score necessary to qualify for the gifted program. Some factors include motivation. Some gifted children will not automatically engage in things that don't interest or challenge them, things they see as busy work or that they just don't understand the reason for. A way to deal with that is to try to explain to them how different skills are really important in adult life, or how they may correspond to some goal or hobby that they have in their future. Like, for example, if they want to be a cook, they could see how math would help them do that, fractions in particular. Some gifted children, especially in middle school, will also try to dumb down to fit and be popular. So their motivation is to try to be popular rather than to necessarily get good grades. And there's some ways inclusion in the gifted class can actually help that, because they get to be with other gifted peers. Lack of organization can also be a problem with some gifted students. They'll lose their homework or forget to turn it in. It may have been completely correct, but they never actually got it to the teacher. They don't bring home necessary books. They forget assignment due dates. Some show poor time management skills, especially when things come easy to them. They may get used to doing things at the last minute. And as assignments get longer and longer in high school and college, that can be very difficult. Some suggestions would be using calendar apps, using paper calendars, keeping tracks of things like that, breaking down longer assignments into shorter deadlines, breaking it down into steps with shorter deadlines, things like that. Poor study skills. Many students never develop, a lot of times bright students will coast through the early grades, and therefore they don't develop the study skills that other students have already acquired. By the time they get to high school or college, they suddenly have an increased workload or subject that doesn't automatically come easily to them. Don't assume study skills are obvious. Sometimes you think that they can just automatically figure out how to study. Teach them, enroll them in a study skills class, ask the teacher for pointers on the best ways to break lessons down, teach them note-taking skills, memory skills, how to highlight important passages, how to study basically. And be aware that gifted students whose self-esteem is very invested in their intelligence may be embarrassed or even depressed if a new area of failure, quote unquote, in their lives suddenly appears. They may be reluctant to ask for help. They may believe that they're not that smart after all, that they just managed to fool everybody all this time, or that they were just born bad at math, for example. It may be helpful to remind them of all their successes, and to remind them that study skills are a valuable tool for people coping with new material and increased workloads in all situations. Finally, learning disabilities. There are newer definitions of learning disabilities that emphasize below grade level academic performances in making a formal diagnosis. So many gifted children today don't fit that criteria because even when they struggle, they often manage to get passing grades. So it just takes them longer time. It's taking more effort than you think it should, given how bright you know they are. But nonetheless, they still show some uneven abilities in areas of learning that are lagging behind the other areas. Some things come easily and other things come very hard for them. For example, a student who can solve complex math equations in his head, but when he tries to write simple calculations on paper, he makes mistakes. Or a student who understands spoken lessons easily, but then she struggles with reading. Those are all examples of learning disabilities with very bright children. One analogy I use for bright children with learning disabilities is trying to move forward when one leg is running and the other has a 10-pound weight attached to it. And that's exactly what it feels like. Some things come extremely easily, other things are challenging, and trying to coordinate the two is even more frustrating than necessarily either part by itself. Some suggestions for that might be a thorough psychoeducational evaluation that can help pinpoint strengths and weaknesses. Working with a professional who works with learning disabilities can also give you pointers for that. Study skills classes can also work with that as well. Can teach, for example, if short-term memory is poor, there are some mnemonic strategies that you can learn to try to boost your short-term memory, and so on and so forth. Thank you.